How you doing? Been a little bit. Here, hold on to this for me for a second. I got some hair. You know, it's not very often that I'm trying to do reviews of things. I don't think doing reviews of things is really something I necessarily want to do all the time. However, I feel like this one was really important, kind of worth talking about. Thanks for holding that. I appreciate it. So, if you don't know, I got really deep into 3D printing recently. I hope you can tell from the recent videos I've done. And one of the companies that's been talking to me a lot has been ELEGOO. So before we go any further today, I'd like to say that today's video is sponsored by ELEGOO. So all our friends over at ELEGOO, especially our friend Melody, thank you so much. Y'all have been super, super cool. With that being said, if I'm ever going to do a review on this channel, I want it to be something that I want to either warn you about or give you a big heads up about, because it's either going to be something I think you should avoid or something you should really go for. What we're here to talk about today is ELEGOO's newest FDM 3D printer, the Neptune 3 Pro. Long story short, do I think it's worth it? Do I think it's good? Yeah, darn tootin', hella good, really darn good. Probably, I'm gonna be bold and say that I think it's the best entry-level FDM 3D printer that's come out yet. All right. So I know this has been a big, bold claim, but let's actually get into some of the talking about it. What's so special about the ELEGOO Neptune 3 Pro? What makes it different than most other entry-level 3D printers? ELEGOO's Neptune 3 Pro is packaged pre-built and comes standard with auto bed leveling, a healthy 225 by 225 by 280 millimeter print volume on a heated bed with a standard PEI magnetic platform, a dual direct gear drive extruder capable of temperatures up to 260 degrees Celsius, fully compatible with PLA, ABS, PETG, and flexible filaments like TPU, and an LED strip, print model preview, dual sync Z motors, filament runout detection and power loss print resume, 8 supported languages, and one other thing that I think we'll talk about just a little bit later in the video. I don't want to spoil anything too soon, but there's one more thing about this printer that I think is my top favorite thing about it, and we'll talk about that when I think it's ready. So if you're interested in what's my first impressions of the machine, you can go check out the previous live stream that we did. And if it's not on this channel, go check out the live stream channel. There's a link down below to it where you can go subscribe to it anytime I go live. I'll be live on that channel instead of this channel. But if you look around on this channel or that channel right now, you should be able to see my initial reactions to the machine. I had a lot of fun when I first started printing with this machine. So let me show you the first thing we actually made. The first thing that got printed was this little Buddha right here. Cute little guy, ain't he? This came out super, super clean on Protopasta's mint green or metallic green. I can't remember the color. It's Protopasta, I promise. Anyways, this was able to get printed in just about an hour, and for something about this size, that's about normal. And it came out really, really, really clean. I'm honestly surprised with the quality that we got out of this little Buddha. But that's not the thing that excited me the most. So the next thing that we ended up printing out on it was this little tool holder right here. And this is what really excites me about this printer. It's one thing to have a printer that works right out of the box. It's another thing that prints really well out of the box. It's another thing to have something that's not only within tolerances, but also compliant with other parts that aren't 3D printed. This is really cool. And honestly, ELEGOO, I wish more companies did what you did. You made a tool holder that holds all the tools that come with your package, and you found a way to put it onto the printer so it's always there instead of having to make us go design it or go find somebody else to go design it. You made this completely ready and available for us on the printer. That's really, really cool. Now, here's the thing. I did have to go take my SD card over to the computer, and I did have to go dig around into the models folder to find it. When I started the printer, I wanted to print this one first, but I ended up printing the Buddha first because it was the first one available. So if you're looking for this, go into your SD card and go check the model folder. Bring this file all the way up to the top folder inside the SD card and then print this immediately. It has a spot to hold all your stuff. And if you happen to get an ELEGOO resin printer like I do, there's a metal scraper that comes with those sometimes. That metal scraper fits on here. I highly recommend y'all put it on there. I would put it on there, but I'm still in the middle of moving offices from one place to another, and you know, it's a 6-month process from what I've heard. So after being completely blown away with how well that tool set came out, I wanted to try some other prints. I had been working on this little Godzilla keychain idea that I've been wanting to do for a long time now, where I just do a bunch of different keychains with a bunch of different Godzilla themed colors. And I had already done a test run with ones I thought would look like Shin Godzilla with a rougher printer that specifically is made to make those prints look really nasty. And I wanted to make ones that look a lot cleaner, something that made the other filaments I have look a little bit better. And what I have right here are color changed Godzilla tags. Now these ones change from gray to red to yellow, and they have a red border. And this was printed using the lava thermochromatic filament from Capricorn. And I want you all to take a look at that. Isn't that neat? Take a quick peek at this. Now that's normal color, but once you get a little bit of heat on them, warm them up. That face when you're warming up thermochromatic filaments. You start to get some color changes in them, and I think it's kind of neat. And the way that these printed out were super, super clean. Like night and day compared to the Shin Godzilla tags I have. I was really happy with how these came out. Now the last thing I printed, I wanted it to be something a little bit different. I wanted to combine a couple of filaments that were test filaments that I've gotten at Earth earlier this year. And I also wanted to combine it with some of the stuff I got really heavily back into this year. Y'all like Star Trek? Because I like Star Trek. And you know me, I had to make a Spock. Who doesn't like Spock? And let's get to the good, the bad, and the ugly. Let's go ahead and knock these out really, really quickly. Because I'm gonna be honest with you. The first good thing is, there's very little bad things. Or very little ugly things. It's kind of more nitpicks, but still stuff I feel needs to be addressed, so we're gonna bring it up. But let's go ahead and get into the good. First thing up, everything that's advertised works. Everything. And there's a lot of 3D printers that say that this thing works right away, and it does not work right away. Whereas once you get this ELEGOO Neptune 3 Pro up and built and running, outside of maybe a couple strange sounds at the start, it goes, it works, it auto bed levels. It has all the different little features about it that it says it has on there. It's something that should be expected with most products, but honestly, when it comes to the 3D printing scene, sometimes they'll say it does something and then it doesn't. I can very confidently say, whatever it says it can do on the box, it can do. It also prints really, really fast, reliable, efficiently, cleanly. And that's not something you usually get right out of the box on a 3D printer. Usually you have to sit there and you have to make your own slicers for like profiles and then like, you know, hope that you put enough supports on it or make sure that you put all the right settings in there correctly so this thing will print appropriately. What's cool about this is on the SD card, it has its own version of Cura, which is a 4.8 version of it that's been forked over to be ELEGOO's Cura. The slicer that's already in there works very, very well, and the profiles that are there immediately, like from the get-go, are all really, really good. I tried each one of the profile settings and each one printed super, super, super clean. I was really, really happy with how well that slicer worked, all things considered. Out of the box, it's usable. It's one of the most user-friendly and beginner-friendly machines I have ever seen. But in terms of it being a brand new 2022 machine going into 2023 machine, this thing is considered what I would consider to be a top-of-the-line beginner entry-level machine. It has a bunch of stuff that if you were trying to upgrade, like let's say you bought a $99 Micro Center Ender 3 Pro. If you want to get that up to today's standards, you're looking at close to anywhere between $100 and $160 to $200 worth of upgrades just to get it up to snuff. Whereas right here, you're already paying that same amount, but it's already ready to go and there's no real need for an upgrade anytime soon. Out of the box, the Neptune 3 Pro is absolutely superb. It's wonderful. So that's pretty much the good, which is like everything. It's great. So what's the bad? Is there any bad? Let's talk about the bad. So let's talk about the bad for a very brief moment, because there's really not that much bad to say. And like I said earlier, there's really not much in the ugly I have to say either. The ugly is gonna be more nitpicky. But anyways, the issues I had was mostly with vase mode. Anytime I try to use any of the given settings and then try to go into base mode with those given settings, I would usually get failed prints. Now, when I dropped it down to about 70% of the print speed on each one of the prints, that's when I found some successes with base mode. But overall, right out of the box, base mode is not something I think this thing can do right away. You might need to tweak your slicer settings a little bit more in order to get base mode to work right away. That's not a huge problem. Most of the you that are going to be printing aren't going to be using base mode. But if base mode is something you're interested in doing right out the gate, you might want to just wait a little while longer. But if base mode isn't the biggest needed thing in your 3D printing needed, things, when it came to multiples of the same item, it was no issue. But if it was multiple items that were all a little bit different, that's when some parts started to fail overall. So if you're going to be printing anything on this printer, I highly recommend printing one thing. You can do multiples of that one thing, but make sure it's just one thing. That's where I think you'll find the most successes. And I think generally that's a usual thing that most other people in FDM 3D printing say. Stick with just one thing at a time. So we talked about the good, we talked about the bad. Let's talk about the ugly, which ugly to me is really like either something excessively horrible about the machine or just something that bothers me about 3D printing in general. So let's get right into it. The first one being, so soon after the Neptune 3? Don't get me wrong, I think this machine's absolutely superb, but I had the chance of messing around with original Neptune 3s, and I'm not gonna lie, I kinda was really excited about getting a few of those. The original plan was to get a few Neptune 3s to be the farm for my business. And then after some talking and being really, really cool with ELEGOO and kind of becoming friends with Melody over there, hi Melody, I took their word on trying the Neptune 3 Pro, and I'm honest to God really happy I did. It's awesome. And like the few complaints I had about the Neptune 3 were resolved with the Neptune 3 Pro, which is super cool. That's great. I'm super glad that like the few complaints I had was mostly stuff that most everybody had about the Neptune 3, and they were able to address that in less than a year, which is like, whoa, that's super cool. That's super fast and very much appreciated. Thank you, ELEGOO. Let's move on to the last two nitpicky things. There's a ribbon cable on the machine. And in order to put the screws in on the bottom, you have to pull the ribbon cable out on the bottom a little bit more than you think you should, so you can get the screws up in there so you can tighten up that gantry on the side. I kind of wish it was over just like an inch. It bothers the hell out of me, and the reason why it bothers the hell out of me is that I wasn't anticipating it, but I knew what I was looking for. If this was my first time building a 3D printer and I didn't know what I was looking for, yikes, what was I gonna do about that, So, if I was having a hard time finding that, I can see how that could be a little bit confusing to some people. But again, nitpicky, because you guys mentioned that in your instructions. And the only reason why I say it's something kind of ugly is that I think an intuitive machine is one that you could build without the instructions and still be able to put it together in a functional state. And I was able to do that. It's just that I'm not sure other people will be able to catch on to, oh, that's where those screws were. Oh, okay. Like I said, nitpicky. Now my last nitpick, and this is just a general thing with 3D printing companies in general. So my friends over at ELEGOO, if you're hearing me on this one, please take this one to heart. And this isn't me saying anything bad about you personally. It's just, this is something a lot of companies do, and we're kind of tired of seeing it. Stop putting pictures from other products next to your printer and being like, yeah, we printed that. Now, I applaud you for using an actual 3D print in the images that you provided us for anybody interested in selling or just even talking about the machine. But the model that's used is the Atomic Dragon from Toymaker 3D. And if you guys don't know Toymaker 3D, especially if you're a tokusatsu person and you like Super Sentai, you should go check out Toymaker 3D. He's got some really, really, really dark cool toy designs. Anyways, his Atomic Dragon is sitting right next to the Neptune 3 Pro. And can the Neptune 3 Pro print that? Yes, it can, in parts. Can it print it all in one piece as it's shown on that thing? Not like that, no. And that's one thing I'm getting really tired of seeing with 3D printing companies, is they'll put a product next to the 3D printer and be like, yeah, you can print that. And theoretically, yes, you can print that, but what you're neglecting to share with the person interested in buying your printer is that had some assembly required and that you needed to purchase the STL in order to get a hold of that model in order to print that thing. There needs to be just a little bit more thought into how do I show exactly what my machine can do, All right, so the pros and cons, let's just lay it out. The pro is, it's an amazing machine. It absolutely said everything it was gonna do, it does. The cons, a little bit pricey, a little bit pricey. This machine is going for about $230 plus tax plus shipping for pre-order sales right now. And from what I understand, this is supposed to go for about $260 on full retail price. I know dropping $60 might sound really steep to everyone over at ELEGOO, but please hear me out. If you sold this for about $200 and you advertise it strictly as an entry-level beginner machine, like this is the machine you need to get in 2023 if you want to get into 3D printing, this thing would sell. I think it could possibly beat out Ender sales for the year. I think it would be, okay, so you know how I said I think it could beat out Ender and all that other stuff? So let me show you something that just happened right now. In real time, this has been going for about 25 minutes, and I set up a print to go for 25 minutes. So come check this out. Come over here. This whole time, I've had the Neptune 3 Pro printing. Hi, Neptune 3 Pro. Everyone wave at Neptune 3 Pro. And I had it printing one of my designs. Well, I say it's one of my designs, but it's not really my design, it's just, this is the logo from Kamen Rider or the Tachibana Racing Club. This, hopefully y'all can see that. Anyways, I modeled it, it's up on my printables page. But yeah, this was able to print in the background. You wanted to know what my last thing on the good list was of like, what I think so amazing about this machine? This machine is quiet. It's so quiet, and all the prints come off the build plate so darn easy with that nice spring steel. Like, oh my God, it's great. Good job. Good job printing. I'm really happy with that. That came out great. So yeah, you wanna know my favorite thing about this printer is? It's quiet. It's so quiet. It's so quiet that I could probably have 4 of them running in the room while being able to record videos. And I bet y'all didn't even know. Like here, I'm gonna turn it off right now and you're gonna hear the fan turn off and it's gonna be like nothing changed. Ready? Like nothing changed. Like I'm sure there's some audio difference now, but like compared to most of my other printers, that's really, really quiet. That's amazingly quiet. All right, so yeah, if this machine can be dropped down to something like about $200, I honestly see this being an ender killer. It's amazing out of the gate. All things considered, this is a fantastic machine. Which leads me to, would I recommend this? What would be my overall score? What's the bottom line when it comes to the ELEGOO Neptune 3 Pro? Look, I know I don't really review machines, and I know I haven't shown you guys too many reviews of other machines I have so far. But in terms of like impressing, like how much I'm impressed by this, I've only had this for a week, and I cannot wait to see what I'm doing with it in 6 months, or even a year from now. The capabilities of it out of the box are absolutely superb, which is why I have to give it a rating of superb. And if you guys don't know my rating system, it's either in the really, really low under 4s and the crap, in the middle, somewhere in there is gonna be like a, it's okay. Anywhere from 8 higher up to 10 is superb. And I wanna give it a more definite number. I wanna see something in between, like, 9 and 10, because it is really, really darn impressive so far. But I can't quite give it a 9 or 10 just yet. The thing is about 3D printing is, within the first week of 3D printing with your new printer, you're probably going to have either some really, really good times or some pretty bad times. I've had some really, really darn good times. But the thing is about 3D printing is the more you do it, you're going to run into new issues and other problems. So, come back in about 6 months. We're going to take another look at the Neptune 3 Pro and see if it still holds up in 6 months. And then after that, we're going to check up on it again in a year and see if it's still holding up after all that time. Would I recommend this to people? Yes, absolutely yes. I'm really impressed with the Neptune 3 Pro, so much so that if you want to get a hold of one right now, you can go check out our website, TheNextDecade.co. On our website right now, we have 4 available for pre-order. Yeah, I wouldn't be selling it if I didn't think it was worth your guys' money. And I think it's worth it. I think it's totally worth it. And I think it'd be a great way for y'all to get hold of it a little bit early, because if you jump on it now, a really good chance y'all can get it by Christmas. And if you have a young engineer or a little maker that's trying to get themselves into 3D printing, this is quite possibly the best beginner entry-level machine I've seen. People might try to entice you with Fun of Reality's Ender machines or a CR10 possibly, and I say nay. No, don't do it, don't do it, don't do it. Jump on the ELEGOO Neptune 3 Pro. It's good. If there was one thing I had to say on the way out, one thing I would want to see about the ELEGOO Neptune 3 Pro, or a new version of the machine in the future, 350 by 350 by 400 millimeters. Outside of that, maybe Core XY. So yeah, I want to say thank you very, very, very much to our friends over at ELEGOO, especially Melody. Thank you all again so much. This was a lot of fun to check out and get to have as my first review item. And like, I'm really, really impressed with it too, because that was a good machine. If you guys want to know more about how I got a hold of this early, come check out the live streams, because we're going to be streaming again next Friday. I'm gonna go print some more stuff on my cool printer. Print. Yeah. Wait, hold on. Did I show you I printed Spock?
I loved you. However, I hated you.